All right, first of all, congratulations to everyone who came down to protest the proposed bill to ban public graffiti in the form of chalk. So give yourselves a round of applause. So the government has recently proposed a bill to give a $440 fine for anyone who chalks on public property, which is a bit excessive. I have no idea what could possibly motivate Barry O'Farrell to make chalking a criminal act.
Free speech and democracy.
Perhaps what motivates him to ban chalk is maybe it was like a Batman Beginning sort of situation where his parents were murdered and he saw the chalk outlines and no one explained to him what that actually meant, and so he had a vendetta to ban chalking for the rest of his life, and perhaps that's why we find ourselves in this situation.
It was the outline of a dog, actually.
If this bill goes through, Australia and North Korea, as far as I'm aware of, will be the only countries to ban chalking. And as far as I'm aware, and that's how serious it is. This is a clamping down on free speech. Free speech is the way in which you defend all your other liberties. And in countries where they have a slow creep of taking away people's ability to defend their liberties by taking away free speech, you do get authoritarian states like North Korea, in which the people of North Korea have to have pictures of their leaders in their house on display at all times. Now, I would hate to have to live in a country where I have to display Tony Abbott's picture in my room all the time. The only time Tony Abbott's picture should be in someone's house is if it is a makeshift dartboard.
Or toilet paper.
You know, the disconnect the establishment has to reality is astonishing. They, instead of going after maybe fracking, which we know causes young children to have nosebleeds and all kinds of health problems, as well as destroying the underground water supply we'll probably need as a species for the next, 100,000 years, they're going after chalking. Nor do they have anything to say about the damage the monolithic media has on the public mind. You know, think about the impact on ads on the culture versus public chalking. Public chalking has never caused a whole generation of 14-year-old girls to have body image issues. Chalking has never caused this country to go to war with another country based on false pretexts of weapons of mass destruction. You just have to wonder the mentality of these politicians. You know, it's like living. I think. Yeah, I just want to say, one of the stupidest reasons I think banning chalking is a complete act of stupidity by the leaders is that's not going to stop the revolution. Like, banning chalking is not going to stop the inevitable result of the world economic system that disenfranchised millions, where we have I would like to give the mic up to someone else. So, does anyone else have any words about the chalking situation? Would they like to come up? Please welcome this mate.
Washes off in the rain.
Tony Backhouse here from Hands Off Syria. I'd like to say that Arthur Stace was never caught in the act of writing with a chalk on the footpath. So do you think you can really enforce this law, or would you force it underground?
Yeah, look, there's a wider construct going on here, which I'm sure many are aware of, and you know, we've got it in Queensland at the moment, and already in force in New South Wales, laws which classify the bikies as a different species to everybody else. Laws who, you know, they're ostensibly there to deal with organised crime. Well, what about organised crime in the Catholic Church? The crime of paedophilia. You know, these laws won't deal with that, and there seems to, you know, the government seems to be a little bit remiss in dealing with that. They go all soft cock when we're talking about dogs and the exploitation of families and kids. But they're quite happy to ban chalking. And you know, at federal level, you've got a government that wants to pass a thing called the TPP. You've got the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, you know, that's being done totally without your consent. Look, yes, this is about hopscotch and this is about chalk, but it's also about freedom of communication. You know, people. This is the way the public can get their message out, and you know, we don't have lobby groups slipping dollars into our pockets like the Liberal Party do, so they can get their message out. We don't have the budgets that McDonald's do, so they can lie about the quality of their food. Yeah, this is the people's way, and take away the people's voice. The people should absolutely stand up and say no.
And thanks, Lance. That was absolutely true. This is a small way in which people in the public can communicate with the public in a way that the media, in order to compete with the mainstream media, the majority of the public doesn't even know that public chalking is about to be banned. And if only there was some sort of cheap, temporary way people could get the message out there that chalking is about to be banned. If only there was some sort of way a non-permanent message could be put in public that would wash away with the rain. If only there was some way that could be done. I can't think of any, but if anyone has any ideas, let me know.
Maybe a light show on Opera House.
Yeah.
That'd be very.
You know, if freedom of speech, I feel that street art is one of the few ways the grassroots can organise against the monolithic industries that control the media, they control the banking industry. They all work together to control and shape the narrative of Australia. You know, for instance, take the narrative that the Anzacs died for our freedom. Well, first of all, I don't think they actually died for our freedom. I think they died because someone couldn't read a map and that we're subservient to a British colony. But if you do accept the narrative that the Anzacs died for our freedom, I don't think they were running up the beachheads of Gallipoli to hope that in 100 years' time, people want to be able to chalk on a side street. I don't think that's why, when they were moaning in pain on the ground moments before they died, I don't think that was running through their head. So this dog shit narrative that they died for our freedom is an absolute myth. And I think this chalking bill proves that very clearly.
Thanks, guys.
Would anyone else like to jump up to comment on the chalking laws? Give it up for James.
Hello.
Hey, James. Hello.
I'm going to read a poem by Henry Lawson. Faces in the street. Faces in the street. They lie, the men who tell us, for reasons of their own, that want is here a stranger and that misery is unknown. For where the nearest suburb and the city proper meet, my window sill is level with the faces in the street. Drifting past to the beat of weary feet, while I sorrow for the owners of those faces in the street. And 'cause I have to sorrow in a land so young and fair, to see upon those faces stamp the marks of want and care, I look in vain for traces of the fresh and fair and sweet in sallow sunken faces that are drifting through the street. Drifting on to the scrape of restless feet, I can sorrow for the owners of the faces in the street. In hours before the dawning dims, the starlight in the sky, the wan and weary faces first begin to trickle by, increasing as the moments hurry on with morning feet, till like a pallid river flow the faces in the street. Flowing on to the beat of hurried feet, I sorrow for the owners of those faces in the street. The human river dwindles when 'tis past the hour of 8. Its waves go flowing faster in the fear of being late, but slowly drag the moments while beneath the dust and heat, the city grinds the owners of the faces in the street. Grinding body, grinding soul, yieldly scarce enough to eat. Oh, I sorrow for the owners of the faces in the street. And then the only faces till the sun is sinking down are those of outside toilers and the idlers of the town. Save here and there a face that seems a stranger in the street, tells of the city's unemployed upon their weary beat. Drifting round to the tread of listless feet, my heart aches for the owner of that sad face in the street. And when the hours on lagging feet have slowly dragged away and sickly yellow gaslights rise to mock the going day, then flowing past my window like a tide in its retreat, again I see the pallid stream of faces in the street. Ebbing out to the drag of tired feet, while my heart is aching dumbly for the faces in the street. And now, all blurred and smirched, with vice the day's sad end is seen, but where the short large hours against the longer small hours lean, with smiles that mock the wearer, and with words that half retreat, dilly at please for custom at the corner of the street. Sinking down, butted wrecked by tempest beat, a dreadful thankless trade is hers, that woman in the street. But to dreader things than these our fair young city comes, for in its heart are growing thick the filthy dens and slums, where human forms shall rot away in sties of swine unmeat, and ghostly faces shall be seen unfit for any street, rotting out for the lack of air and meat, in dens of vice and horror that are hidden from the street. I wonder, will the apathy of wealthy men endure, where all their windows level with the faces of the poor? Mammon's slaves, your knees shall knock, your hearts in terror beat, when God demands the reasons for the sorrows of the street, the wrong things and the bad things, and the sad things that we meet, in the filthy lane and alley in the cruel, heartless street. I left the dreadful corner where the steps are never still, and sought another window overlooking Gorgon Hill, but when the night came dreary with the driving sleet and rain, they haunted me, the shadows of those faces in the street, flitting by with noiseless feet, and with cheeks that scarce were paler than the real ones in the street. Once I cried, "Oh God Almighty, if thy might doth still endure, now show me in a vision for the wrongs of earth a cure." And lo, with shops all shuttered, I beheld a city street, and in the warning distance heard the tramp of many feet, coming near to a drum's dull distant beat, 'twas despair's conscripted army that was marching down the street. Then, like a swollen river that has broken bank and wall, the human flood came pouring with the red flags over all, and kindled eyes all blazing bright with revolution's heat, and flashing swords reflected rigid faces in the street. Pouring on to a drum's loud threatening beat, and the war hymns and the cheering of the people in the street. And so it must be, while the world goes rolling round its course, the warning pen shall write in vain, the warning voice grows hoarse. For not until a city feels red revolution's feet shall its sad people miss awhile the terrors of the street, the dreadful everlasting strife for scarcely clothes and meat, in that pent track of living death, the city's cruel street. Thank you for listening.
Joe Patterson, in the words of once a jolly swagman, "They'll never catch me alive," said he.
Cool. Anyone else like to jump up, say some words? I'd just like to stress what I think is a really good way of highlighting the absurdity of trying to crack down on public graffiti. So in every era of history, the public was completely blind to the immorality of the time. For example, in Europe and early America in the 16 and 1700s, people used to burn witches, right? The public thought that burning witches was something that was necessary. That was the banning chalking of the time, was burning witches. People used to have slaves, and they were okay with that. They were like, oh, come over to the house, I'll show you around, I'll show you the living room, I'll show you the bedroom, I'll show you the people we keep against their will to do our bidding for us. And they were completely cool with it. In this era, we went to invade Iraq for false pretexts that resulted in about 500,000 civilians dying. I don't know, as a culture, when we became completely numb to the reality of 500,000 civilians dying, I don't see any justification for that. I don't see any justification for the billions of dollars wasted on that. And I would like the cops who are here listening to consider that at some point in time, maybe in the next couple years, they might need to break line. They might need to band with the people against things like the TPP, against things like the NSA spying on us illegally, and wake up and realize that they're here to defend the people and not the corporate interests, and that they have a lot more in common with the people they're standing on the street with today than the people who work in this Parliament building behind us. Anyone else would like to jump up? James is going to jump up.
I today asked one of these policemen what they thought about chalking, asked for their opinion, but they had no opinion. And I think I'd like to hear your opinion one day. How are one of you policemen going to feel when you're arresting someone who's just been chalking? Do you want to be doing that? You know, and I know you have opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one.
They're not paid to think.
You know, just because something is law does not mean it's moral. You know, street art is one of those ways that the grassroots can communicate with messages that the public need to hear. There's a few issues like the TPP the public needs to consider and discuss a little bit more than Miley Cyrus's twerking. And I think there are members of the public that won't ever understand political matters just because of the complexity of it. In the same way, some people just don't understand algebra. So what I advocate is that people do paste-ups where they print out images on pieces of paper and then they stick them to the walls. And one thing I would suggest is work with people's weaknesses. If people are interested in celebrity gossip, just get an image of like Gwyneth Paltrow's face and then just misattribute a quote next to her. You know, just get Gwyneth Paltrow and then next to her just say, if the people ever allow privately controlled banks to issue and control the money supply, first by inflation and then deflation, the institutions that will grow up around it will rob the people of everything they have. Gwyneth Paltrow. Because I think people would stop and pay attention to that message. You know, just Photoshop, just work with like those images of gossip magazines, you know, like Women's Day. Just have a pregnant Angelina Jolie with her baby bump, and then just write above it, baby bump, or is capitalism failing us? Checking, do we have any more people who'd like to jump up and say anything? Yeah, Pat, let's welcome Pat up, just briefly.
I don't even know why the hell we're here. We're here protesting that you can't chalk on the ground, you can't have a hopscotch game. It seems so ridiculous to me. I don't even know why I'm here today. I don't even understand it.
The Queensland bikie laws are very similar to the ancient, almost colonial consorting laws of New South Wales. Now, under the consorting laws, you have to be given warning in writing before you can be charged with consorting. I don't know if that similar law is going to apply in Queensland with the bikie laws, but they could have arrested the barrister and the solicitor who met with the bikie who'd been charged if the opposition leader didn't get an amendment through. But very rarely are people charged with consorting in New South Wales because it is a minefield of legal argument. Now, will the chalk laws become another consorting law? Will police enforce this law because it would be too litigious to follow it through? That is my question. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought a few of those things up. As far as the litigiousness goes of this, look, if anyone ever gets arrested for chalking, I suggest they fight it. Look, it's already going to cost your government a hell of a lot of money. We know from our research, the police officers probably aren't aware of it, but we know from our research that an order's been placed with Tonka for new paddy cars, for new paddy wagons, which will specifically accommodate all the 6-year-olds. They've placed an order with a Bangladesh factory for miniature handcuffs that'll fit around the 6-year-old wrist. They're going to have a lot of trouble enforcing these laws. There are going to be babies who can't even speak. How will they defend themselves when they fall out of their pram next to a piece of chalk and start chalking? I mean, how ridiculous is that? Look, with regard to the gentleman before me mentioned the bikie laws. Look, there's a call out on December the 1st. Watch on Facebook, watch on Twitter, watch your emails, because there's a call out, not by us, but it's coming from Queensland for a national day of protest on December the 1st against the bikie laws as they're applying in Queensland and as they have the potential to apply everywhere else. The Queensland model is actually following New South Wales modification of the old South Australian laws, which are modelled on the South African laws, which were just absolutely and utterly thrown out. They were laughed out of the High Court. They were laughed out of the Court of Appeal, and so they should have been. A little bit earlier in the piece, though, and still on the question of law and the government, on November the 2nd, we're talking about, we've got a march against corruption, which is absolutely and utterly talking about the very things we're talking about here. I mean, we have to start asking the question, whose interests are the government serving by passing these anti-people laws? And why are they legislating more and more against the people and less against the big corporations? Why are they enabling these big corporations? That discussion will be going on November the 2nd. There are a lot of other discussions as well.
Yeah, so that's interesting about the children's handcuffs and stuff. I mean, if they need to start banning chalking, I mean, what's next? The government is threatened by an activity predominantly done by people under the age of 7, that they have to ban chalking. I mean, what's next? Are they going to start banning lunchtimes at schools in case that gives kids an opportunity to organise against the state? That's not a playground, that's a training yard for wannabe terrorists. It's just absolutely absurd. And just other announcements. Keep supporting Occupy. If anyone has any food or they want to do a shift down there at some point, just come to Martin Place and just turn up and just man Occupy, because people are needed to do that. Later this afternoon, we're having a political comedy show in Newtown at the Black Rose, the Anarchist Library, 22 Anmore Road. We're looking for people always to go up to the Lad State Forest. There's a occupation there to stop a mining company that steals the underground water supply that farmers use for some of Australia's prime agricultural land, as well as destroying the habitat of a of a vast forest land that just simply will not come back once it's gone. And just a reminder to our friendly policemen that, yeah, please consider not enforcing these kinds of laws or anything that might come up in the future, and maybe enforce some of the laws that are good. Like, I think, you know, if you apply the dictionary definition of war criminal to John Howard, only from Oxford or Macquarie's opinion, not my opinion, only from Macquarie and Oxford Dictionary's opinion, John Howard is a war criminal, and it would be really cool to arrest that asshole, because, you know, killing 500,000 Iraqi people and stealing people's money at the threat of violence called taxation in order to pay for illegal wars of aggression, there should be a price to pay for that. And if you guys later, I don't know what you guys are doing later on, officers, but if you guys want to like go to John Howard's place, I can be backup for you guys. I can help you out there if you need, you know, because he's a bit nimble. His little feet might kick off really well, and I might be able to help hide you down. We can get some volunteers as well. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people here might help you arrest John Howard if you ever wanted to do that. Westfield? Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of arseholes we could arrest that are guilty of all kinds of crimes. If there's no more speakers, just a quick look around. Yep, Merritt's about to jump up.
I'm standing right next to you with my hand up.
Oh, sorry, mate. Oh, would you? Well,
I had to do all the sound for the occupiers and that. And yesterday morning, I was woken up out of a sleep because somebody who had consumed 6 litres of port decided to trash Occupy, the 24/7, and the 2 people who were supposed to be left in charge there were actually taken off the site by the police and brought to my place. And then Lance rang me and said, "Can you get up there straight away?" And the mess I saw, it looked like Timmy Tip. The whole thing had been stripped and piled. The trash, everything had been piled on top of each other, and I couldn't see why they couldn't take the person who was intoxicated away and leave the people who were supposed to be there to feed and give coffee to the homeless. And
yeah, I think on Anzac Day, you know, maybe instead of having a minute silence, maybe we should have an hour-long conversation as to why wars happen. I think that would be slightly more productive than a minute silent. Please welcome up to speaking Merritt.
Yeah, thank you. Who wants to get done for chalking? Isn't it ridiculous? Thanks to people who put this on today. It's been an amazing day. I'm just going to say a couple of brief words about the Lead State Forest, which is in northern New South Wales. Most of you have probably heard about it before. It's an old growth box gum woodland forest. There's only 0.01% of this type of forest left in good condition in the world. So very little. It's currently getting logged and mined for coal by 2 corporations, one Whitehaven Coal and the other one Idemitsu. Whitehaven Coal is about to expand and build their next coal mine called the Maules Creek Project. They need a lot of funding from ANZ, so if you're with ANZ, change banks. But there's a protest camp been there for over a year, and we've been working with local community farmers to stop these coal mines. We've recently got access to free transport leaving every week from Sydney and Newcastle. So if you want to go and visit the protest camp and help out on the ground, defending our forest, our land, our country from massive coal mines, please just come and chat to me afterwards. Thanks.
Yeah, and follow Merritt up on that, because it is an amazing experience going up there and staying up there and living without money for a few days is very refreshing. And I do encourage everyone, if they do pass these anti-chalking laws, that you do continue to chalk and then get busted for it and keep doing it and then go to prison for it. That way, when you're in prison and the guy turns around and goes, "What are you in for?" you can go chalking. And I think there was another element that we didn't really touch upon, and that is that I think this is really a quite personal opinion of one stupid politician who doesn't like seeing people drawing rainbows on the ground because he's an absolute control freak. You know, like Barry O'Farrell is like one of those passive-aggressive housemates that will leave like passive-aggressive notes like around the house telling you what to do, except he happens to be a politician and his passive-aggressive notes can become law. So fuck that guy. Shame, Barry. Where is he? Is he in? Is he around? Can we get him? Yeah. I'm sure he's you know. I'm sure his knees are getting sore right now to some lobby group right now. So, yeah. Any more speakers or? Cool. All right, guys. Well, keep up the good work. If you haven't, if you don't know anyone here, so you recognise someone you haven't seen before, introduce yourself, because meeting people and being organised is really important, because you know, you can work together at the next action and to stay in touch and organise other actions together. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. And don't be intimidated, keep talking. Thank you very much.